late today, later than usual. Usually we do this on Tuesday, but we're coming to you on Thursday because it's going to be a real special time. And we're out in Salisbury. I imagine you know the building behind you. And I hope you don't know this building over here too much. Well, this is our Law Enforcement Center, and I wanted to talk a little bit about law enforcement here in Salisbury because we have a couple of law enforcement people in the church, and one of them is standing right over here. We're going to talk a little bit about him tonight. His name is Tommy Cato, and Tommy does a lot of things around the church. He does a lot of things in the community. Tommy, thank you so much for taking time. We appreciate you being here. Now, I want you to stand beside your car because tell us a little bit about what you do each day using this vehicle.
Well, the car is issued to me to use at East Rowan High School. I'm a school resource officer, and what that entails is not just enforcing the law or being a law enforcement officer at the school. It's a bridge job is what it is. It's to bridge a upcoming group of young people into trusting law enforcement. Not only am I there just to enforce some rules, I'm also there to guide and help young people when they're in trouble and help them out. Some students get some tickets from other people. I give them some friendly advice on how to take care of it. They have disputes with one another that really doesn't involve a criminal offense, but I can help guide them through their relationship with that person and try to help them out with that. So those are some of the things that help.
Yeah, it sounds like you're one of the first people that people see in law enforcement, and I feel like you're a really good friend with a lot of these kids that they trust you. By the way, they like you too. I've heard about that.
Well, I buy them a lot of candy.
Oh, do you? Okay.
I hand out a lot of candy at school. Jolly Ranchers mostly, and so I go around the classrooms and pass them out. Also, that just helps break the ice.
That sounds good. I wanted to see the vehicle a little bit because now you have driven other law enforcement vehicles because you started out, you were in the Highway Patrol when I first came.
I was a North Carolina State Highway Patrolman, and I spent, I did 30 years for the great state of North Carolina and was able to retire, and it was a great job and a great outreach. As I could just do so many things. I was able to visit my deacon families and stuff like that as a trooper because I was always going to the hospital because of a crash or something anyway. And so when I would go to the hospital for a crash, I'd do what I had to do in the emergency room with those people that were injured. And then I'd just slide up the stairs and go see somebody who's there within our church.
Nice. So you were really at a place where a lot of people need a kind face and a hopeful word, especially in accidents.
Right.
When people are made the bad decisions, and you have to kind of explain. That's not an easy job, but I think your smiling face and your attitude and your faith carries a lot. Now behind us, tell us a little bit about what these buildings are. I know we go by them every day, but some of the kids don't know.
Yeah, this is the courthouse, and before it used to be district and superior court was held in there. But Rowan County's grown and it's gotten a lot bigger, and so we had to add on to it. And if you've been here a while, you had noticed that this was just an old freestanding building. They refaced it and added more office space and more courtrooms. So now the old building is just a superior court, and then it houses the clerk of court's office and where you get some wheels done. Any of your county bookkeeping needs can be taking place in there, and then you also have several courtrooms in there. Not only we just have one or two like 10 or 15 years ago, now we have 7 courtrooms. We divide up the court calendars into criminal, civil court. We divide it up into domestic type of things that happen. So you're not in the courtroom talking about your problems or your problem with people who aren't associated with the crime that may have been committed.
Now, how many law enforcement officers do we have here in Lorain County? I see one right over here. That's why I asked.
Definitely a lot. there's like 250 on the sheriff's office, and you probably got another 200 on the Salisbury PD. And then you also have your small departments like Granite Quarry that has 5 or 6, and then Rockwell. You have China Grove, Landis, and Cleveland out west. So all these law enforcement. And then you also have your state highway patrol patrolling the highways. You also have your wildlife officers who are around and out, and you also have some SBI agents who will be around to operate in our great county.
I see that he's over here. I didn't know if you were waiting on you.
No, I'm just making sure she doesn't get hit.
Oh, okay. Thank you so much. Another friend that we met. Thank you so much. We appreciate that.
That's right.
Well, let's walk over this way a little bit. We'll talk a little bit more. Thank you
Y'all
so
have a good
much.
night.
Thank you.
See, Mr. Cato?
Yes, sir.
You were talking a little bit about what they do in this building, and I see this building's got, because of the COVID virus, it's got, they're not letting anybody in there.
Yeah, because we got to maintain some distance right now, and it's really kind of it's totally different for everybody in every aspect of everything. But right now we're only letting so many people in. Before you could come in with your spouse and sit down and do your sport thing, but now only the person who is needing help, whether they're charged or they're just needing the help, they're the only people who are allowed in. And they have to social distance while they're inside. And so they need a couple extra officers in there to assist with that, and that's why the school resources officers have been helping this summer. And they've closed off the main entrance right here because they want everybody going in just one way and on one side. It helps them keep up with everybody instead of going in and out 2 different spots. So it's a count. There's a couple of things that have to do with
safety, because I know when people come to the church, we have temperatures and things like that.
We are.
Imagine y'all
They're doing that. They're doing the screening. No phones are allowed inside. No weapons are allowed inside. Sometimes people accidentally bring something in. Don't panic about that. We'll let you just go on and take it back to the car and pick it back up.
I was one of those people that was called in, and they said, you can't bring that phone
You
in,
can't
take
bring
it back
that
to your
in.
car.
Right.
There's a lot of laws, but they're all to keep us safe.
They are.
Excellent, excellent. Now, Tommy, I know that what you do out here is important. You do a lot of things. You work downtown here. You work out at East Rowan. I know at the church you do a lot of things at the church too. Give me an idea about everything you do, because I know it's God. Well, the things you can talk about.
I don't think about it a lot, but I just feel like I'm a feel the need person, and sometimes there's a need for things I don't mind helping out. Whether it be with our men's gatherings, I enjoy cooking, and so I cook a lot of meals for everybody. I try to make it as best as we can and try to stay within a certain budget, and it takes planning. Obviously, you're talking about 50 men, and so we have to. Sometimes I'll come in there about an hour or 2 after church is already over and start prepping everything up and getting it prepared and done.
Also, takes a little time.
It does. And then with the Baptist men too, I also I help build some ramps. And in the past couple of weeks, I've helped do 2 ramps. And Pete has graciously asked me to lead those campaigns. And so there's planning too. So I go out and I meet with the person who has the need. I go out and assess and measure everything that I'll need. Try to go to Lowe's and make sure I got all the equipment that we'll need for the project, because there's nothing worse than to be out there and not have all the stuff you have to do. So you have to go over it several times in your mind about everything you need there, and then God just blesses me with people to show up. One project I just needed 3, and in one day I had them, and then one project I needed 8, and I had more than enough. When there's a need at our church, there's people who always feel God leaning on them, and they come.
I have found that, Tommy. You're exactly right. Is if they understand the need, if they understand that it's a valid need, and people like you are doing a lot of the legwork behind the scenes, they show up, they do the work, and everybody wins.
And we're all blessed by it.
Exactly, and just a fellowship of people working together. I like that. Now, I noticed in Facebook the other day that you had taken a group up to the Virginia Creeper Trail.
Well, my Sunday school class, myself and Wendy, my wife, are part of the team for having activities in our class, and so with COVID going around, it's kind of scaled us back because we had plans of baseball games and everything else, like everybody else. But here recently, we felt that we could get back out, and the Virginia Creeper Trail was open, and so I invited some people up, and we did that. We also have had a pool party where we had quite a few come out for that. And so exciting time, and everybody just loved the feel of being normal again.
Yeah,
Even if it was just for a little bit of time.
I know that class. Normal is not the word I'd use for that class, but I know what you're talking about. And I know also that a couple of years ago you took some of the people in the church on a cruise. I know you and your wife Wendy loved the cruise.
We did. We took a cruise down to Cozumel and back on a little 4-day cruise. It was excellent. I think we had 16 or 18 people go. It was a couples cruise, and we had our pastor led a prayer for us and what do you call it?
A retreat or something?
A retreat. Well, he had several Bible studies for us, and it was just a beautiful time. And when we had our Bible studies, everybody was looking forward to them. It was just great.
That's great. I tell you, a lot of what you're doing is behind the scenes, a lot of preparation. You've got a good part. Now, you're a cop.
Yeah.
And we don't expect that of cops, do we?
Well, we're people just like everybody else.
Exactly.
And so, sometimes people just see the uniform when we approach, and people are intimidated by it. And sometimes that's for a purpose, right? We want to be intimidating to people a little bit because we're afraid too, right? On the approach of a car at night, as a state trooper, I'd always put my hat on and tilt it down, because I don't know the person in the car, and I don't know what they're about to do, and I'm trained that that person could hurt me, so I have to use all my senses to be cautious when I come up, and then within a second or two, I can realize that the person is going to have ill will towards me, or they're just accidentally violated the law temporarily.
Yes, so a lot of kids, that's really what I wanted to talk a little bit to you today about, because you represent a lot of guys in blue and a lot of women in blue.
Yes.
That I'm reminded of the two most important words of the Bible over and over again. When God shows up, there's two things that he has to say. Don't be afraid. Fear not.
Fear
what
not.
The Bible says. And it sounds like that's what you guys face a lot. And you all have to say, well, don't be afraid of me.
Right.
I'm here to support you, to help you. And if you've done something a little bit wrong, I want to help you get on the right path again. Now, you mentioned something about Wendy. I know you've got two kids, too. Tell me about your two kids.
My oldest is Nick, Nick Cato. He graduated from East Rowan, and he decided to go on down to Wilmington, UNC Wilmington. He started off by going to Wingate. Mm-hmm. He went to Wingate for 2 years. He transferred to Wilmington and graduated with a degree in business and also with accounting. So he's moved back now, and he's got a job over at the State Employees Credit Union. He has gotten himself engaged to a lovely young lady, and Cassie, and he waited down there for her to graduate from Wilmington, and now she's going to get her master's degree at Lenore Ryan. So it's so close that he's going to stay here until they can marry and she finishes.
So he goes out there to get an education and brings back a wife.
I know.
How do they do that?
Plentiful.
Now,
Plentiful.
speaking of women, I know you've got another little woman at your house too. She's so sweet. Tell us a little bit about her.
Gracie, we were just blessed by her. We tried for years to have another child, and it just didn't work out. But God just has a way to provide for everything, and He just provided. We went to church one day, and at that church, a lady came up and said, asked us if people who were in the foster care people were good people, because she had this child she was going to have to turn back in. and we said, golly, we're looking for a child ourselves. And just what a blessing it could be. And so, just in the job that I was as a state trooper at the time, knowing so many people here at court, all these attorneys and all, it was just remarkable that within 30 or 40 days, we had legally adopted Gracie.
Oh,
wow.
If you know anything about adoption, that is unheard of.
It
That
was.
amount of time.
It
That's
was.
about a third of what usually happens.
Exactly.
I tell you, you've got a great family. We have seen some of Gracie's work in the with the the youth. And
She loves playing in the band.
Oh,
She's
yeah.
a color guard girl, and
She does some great internet work too. We've seen her on videos and things like that. Some of her done.
and
her
now
work.
she's wanting to be a driver. So I have to watch her too. So I have to tell her I might have to ticket her.
Well, I can't say very much because I remember one time I was walking across the street and I heard this voice familiar saying, "Do you want a ticket, young man?" I turned around, it was you. But I tell you, we appreciate what you do here. We appreciate what you do at the church. I know being out here even tonight takes time away from the family and everything you do. What are some ways that kids and I and everybody in the church can pray for you and your family?
Well, I mean, just like I pray every day in my car, in my alone time, when I start off in the morning, I always pray that God puts me where He needs me to be, number one. And number two, I pray that when I am doing my job, I pray that I see those needs and can act on them. Just because many times, just like everybody else, I've had opportunity to talk to people about God and not. But sometimes I do. But and I feel better about it when I do. When I act on what God has placed in front of me, I always feel better. But sometimes I don't. And I kick myself for that sometimes after the occasion's already gone.
Mm-hmm.
So pray for me to be strong in my faith as I'm working. I just pray that God puts me where He wants me to be.
And it sounds like He has done that, Tommy. And I think that's a good word for all of us kids, no matter what age you are. When God tells us to do something, now just go ahead and do it because He knows the best for us.
He does.
Just like you officers know the best for us. Sometimes we don't like it.
Right.
But
Well,
that's what you're here for.
and it's never anything personal. It's
Exactly.
it's just what they have to do. And we're right here in downtown, and across the street and everywhere is all these attorneys, and they can be remarkable if you're a good person and you haven't really committed any crimes or no bad driving record. They can do amazing things with that, and they'll never show up on your insurance. So don't be afraid to get the ticket. It is a lesson that we all learned, and I received a couple as a teenager myself.
I've heard about your driving. That's another whole subject. We're not going to film anything about that. But I tell you, it's good that we have you protecting us, guys like you, and some good guys we see around here. I think what we ought to do when we see these guys and girls in blue, we ought to just thank them for what they do. And we want to thank you for everything you do out here in the community and what you are at the church. I want to thank God for your family. You got a sweet family there.
I do. God has just blessed my life beyond measure. Everything He's done is just shown to me so greatly. How can I be retired, and how can I get this job, and how do I have the ability to help other people? And I've gone on so many times, and not every time, but so many times I've pulled up to help somebody, and they said I was praying for them. Just trust,
Isn't it?
It is.
I don't know.
I've had ladies who were broke down on the side of the road with a flat tire and stuff, and they said they were just praying for somebody to stop because they were afraid of who would stop. And I show up.
Oh, that's great. I tell you, kids, this is the kind of man you want to be like. Just show up, listen to God. Just show up and do what God tells you to do. If there's any word that I want you to remember today, it's those two words in the Bible: fear not. Don't be afraid. His perfect love saves us and keeps us away from fear, keeps us in the right path if we sometimes hit those strips like on the side of the road that remind us to
Wake
stay
up.
on those. That's the time to wake up and get back on the right road. Tommy,
Absolutely.
thank you so much for what you do. I appreciate it, my friend.
You're a blessing to our church.
All right, and we will see you next Tuesday. Where in the world's Reverend Rob?